The painting sat propped against a worn card table, gathering dust among old baby clothes and chipped coffee mugs. Most people walking through my family's garage sale didn't give it a second glance, but I couldn't take my eyes off it. Still obsessing over that worthless thing. My sister Catherine's voice dripped with familiar contempt. $5 if you want it, though I don't know why you would. I am Emma Parker, and until that moment, I was just the family disappointment, the art history major who wasted her education working as a museum curator instead of joining the family law firm. The painting had hung in our grandmother's study for decades. After she passed, Catherine and my brother Marcus took charge of liquidating her estate, desperate to convert everything into quick cash. Take it, Catherine sighed, already turning away. Maybe it'll class up your tiny apartment. If she had bothered to learn anything about our grandmother, she would have known that Margaret Parker never owned anything without a story behind it. And this painting, a moody landscape with peculiar brushstrokes, had always fascinated me. I handed Catherine a $5 bill, trying not to show my excitement. She stuffed it into the cash box without even looking at me, too busy texting on her phone. Don't forget to take that hideous frame too, she called after me as I carefully lifted the canvas. We don't want any of this junk left over. The hideous frame was exactly what had caught my attention. Beneath its tarnished surface, I recognized the craftsmanship of a specific period, one that matched perfectly with the painting's apparent age. Back in my apartment that evening, I studied the piece under proper lighting. The more I looked, the more certain I became. The brushwork, the composition, the materials, everything pointed to what seemed impossible. But I needed to be sure. You're not going to believe what I just brought in, I told my colleague David the next morning at the museum. As the head of authentication for one of Boston's premier art museums, he was exactly the expert I needed. David adjusted his glasses as he examined the canvas. Where did you say you got this? My grandmother's garage sale. $5. His head snapped up. $5? Emma, if this is what I think it is. I know, my hands were shaking. The brushwork matches perfectly. And look at the frame. Original 1880s craftsmanship. We need to run tests immediately. David was already pulling on his archival gloves. UVA analysis, pigment sampling, the works. Over the next week, we worked in secret, conducting every authentication test available. Each result only confirmed what I had suspected from the moment I saw the painting in that garage sale. It's genuine, David finally announced, staring at the last test results. You found a lost Harrison Moore. Harrison Moore, one of America's most mysterious 19th century artists. Only 12 of his paintings were known to exist, all in major museums or private collections. This would be the 13th. But how did your grandmother get it? David wondered. That's when I remembered something. A story Grandma had told me years ago, while I was working on my thesis about early American art collectors. Her father, I breathed. My great-grandfather was friends with Moore's son. He must have acquired it directly from the family. Do you have any documentation? I shook my head. Catherine and Marcus cleared out all of Grandma's papers. They probably threw everything away. While the technical analysis is conclusive enough, David assured me, this is museum-quality work. The art world is going to go crazy. He wasn't exaggerating. When word got out that a new Harrison Moore had been discovered, Sotheby's reached out immediately. Their initial estimate made my head spin, $12 million. I kept the news quiet, but in the art world, secrets don't stay secret for long. 2 weeks after my garage sale purchase, I opened my morning newspaper to find my own face staring back at me under the headline. Lost masterpiece discovered. Museum curator finds $1 million painting at family garage sale. My phone started ringing before I'd finished my first cup of coffee. Is it true? Catherine's voice was shrill. That painting, our painting, is worth millions? It's not our painting, I corrected her. I'd bought it, fair and square. For $5, you took advantage of us. We're family, you should have said something. I thought about all the times they'd mocked my career choices, dismissed my expertise, treated me like I was throwing my life away. Like how you've treated me like family all these years. That's different, she snapped. This is serious money we're talking about. Marcus is already talking to his lawyers. Of course he was. My brother, the corporate attorney, who once told me I'd never make anything of myself studying art history. The sale was legal, I said calmly, and I have security camera footage from the garage sale to prove it. This was standard practice at estate sales. Something they would have known if they'd bothered to do any research. We'll see about that, Catherine hissed before hanging up. Next came the text from Marcus. Family meeting, tonight. Be there. I stared at my phone, remembering all the family meetings I'd been excluded from over the years. All the times they'd made decisions about our parents' estate, about grandma's care, about family investments without even telling me until after the fact. But now, suddenly, I was family again. The painting sat in my living room, carefully wrapped in archival materials, waiting to be transported to Sotheby's. I looked at it, thinking about Grandma and how she'd always encouraged my love of art. Beauty isn't always obvious to everyone, she used to say. That's why it's so special when you're one of the few who can see it. As I prepared to face my family, I couldn't help but smile at the irony. They had spent years trying to force me into their world of corporate law and business deals. But in the end, it was my worthless art history degree that had led me to recognize something priceless. The real question was, what would I do with this sudden power? The family that had dismissed me for years was about to learn exactly how much my expertise was worth. The family home loomed before me, its Georgian columns casting long shadows in the evening light. Inside, I could already hear raised voices. My siblings hadn't even waited for me to arrive before starting their arguments. I walked in to find them gathered in the formal living room. Catherine paced by the fireplace while Marcus sat in our father's old leather chair, looking every inch the corporate lawyer in his expensive suit. Finally, Catherine snapped as I entered. Do you have any idea what you've done? Found a valuable painting that you were going to throw away. I set my bag down calmly. Yes, I'm quite aware. Marcus leaned forward, adopting his courtroom pose. Emma, let's be reasonable about this. You acquired this painting under false pretenses. False pretenses? I couldn't help but laugh. You mean when Catherine literally begged me to take it off her hands? We didn't know its value. Catherine's voice rose to a shriek. No, I agreed, you didn't. Because you never bothered to learn anything about Grandma's possessions. You were too busy trying to convert everything into quick cash. That's not fair, Marcus interjected. We were handling the estate responsibly. I pulled out my phone and played a video I'd saved. Catherine at the garage sale, dismissing my concerns about selling Grandma's antiques too cheaply. Really? Because here you are, selling 19th century Tiffany vases for $10 each. They both flinched at the evidence of their carelessness. The painting belongs to the estate, Marcus tried again. We're prepared to reimburse your $5. The estate sale was final, I cut him off, and legally documented. Or did you forget that part too? Catherine switched tactics, her voice suddenly honeyed. Emma, darling, we're family. Surely we can work something out. A fair split between siblings. Family? I let the word hang in the air. Like when you excluded me from all the estate planning meetings? Or when you sold Mom's jewelry collection without even telling me? That was different, Marcus protested. You were always so emotional about family things. You mean I actually cared about the history and meaning behind our inheritance, not just its cash value? Before they could respond, the doorbell rang. Catherine opened it to find David standing there, along with representatives from Sotheby's. Sorry to interrupt, David said, not sounding sorry at all, but we need to discuss the temporary storage of the Moore painting before the auction. Catherine's eyes narrowed. There's not going to be an auction. This is a family matter. Actually, the Sotheby's representative interjected smoothly. We have a signed contract with Ms. Emma Parker for the consignment of the Harrison Moore landscape, recently authenticated by 3 independent experts. Marcus shot to his feet. Any contracts can be contested, including the estate sale contract? I asked innocently. The one where you sold a $12 million painting for $5? The blood drained from his face as he realized the implications. If he contested the garage sale, he'd have to admit to gross negligence in handling the estate. The painting is being moved to secure storage tonight, David announced. Unless you'd like to explain to the probate court why you sold a masterpiece at a garage sale without proper appraisal. Catherine collapsed onto the sofa, her carefully maintained composure cracking. This isn't fair. We're supposed to share inheritance. Like you shared everything else? I shook my head. The painting is mine, legally and ethically. I recognize its value because I spent years studying art history, that worthless degree you all mocked. The Sotheby's team efficiently packed and removed the painting, leaving my siblings staring at me with a mixture of fury and desperation. "What are you going to do with all that money?" Marcus finally asked. I smiled, thinking of Grandma and her love of art. "Something none of you would understand." The auction was set for 3 months later. During that time, my siblings tried everything: legal threats, emotional manipulation, even attempting to contest Grandma's entire estate settlement. Nothing worked. The day of the auction dawned clear and bright. I sat in Sotheby's main hall, watching as the world's top art collectors gathered to bid on the newly discovered Harrison Moore. Catherine and Marcus showed up uninvited, hovering at the back of the room. I could see them calculating the rising bids, their expressions growing more pained with each $1 million increment. The final hammer price exceeded even Sotheby's estimates, $14.8 million. But what happened next shocked everyone, especially my siblings. I stepped up to the podium and made an announcement. The proceeds from this sale will be used to establish the Margaret Parker Foundation for Art History Education, providing scholarships and grants to students studying art conservation and museum studies. The room erupted in applause. Catherine's face turned purple, while Marcus looked like he might faint. Additionally, I continued, the foundation will work with museums to ensure that significant artworks remain accessible to the public rather than disappearing into private collections. Later, as reporters gathered to interview me about the foundation, Catherine pushed through the crowd. "You're giving it all away," she hissed. "To strangers?" "No," I corrected her. "I'm investing it in Grandma's real legacy, her love of art and history, the things you never understood." But it's millions of dollars, yes, I agreed. Millions of dollars that will help countless students pursue their passion for art history, just like Grandma encouraged me to do. The foundation's first initiative was to fund the restoration of our local museum's American Art Wing. I had a small plaque installed beside the entrance, in memory of Margaret Parker, who taught me that true value isn't always obvious at first glance. Months passed. The foundation flourished, gaining recognition in the art world and beyond. Students began receiving scholarships and museums benefited from our conservation grants. Then one day, while reviewing scholarship applications in my office, I received an unexpected visitor, my mother. She had remained silent throughout the whole painting controversy, living in her retirement community in Florida. "I found this in my old files," she said quietly, placing a yellowed envelope on my desk. "It's a letter from your grandmother, written just before she died." With trembling hands, I opened it. "My dearest Emma, if you're reading this, you've probably already found the Moore painting." Yes, I knew what it was. My father told me its history years ago. I kept it in plain sight, waiting for someone who would recognize its true value. Your siblings see worth only in dollar signs. But you, my darling girl, have always understood that real treasures are about more than money. They're about history, beauty, and the stories we pass down through generations. I'm leaving you the painting because I know you'll understand its real value, not just as a masterpiece, but as a tool to help others see the beauty in art and history. Use it wisely, my dear. Sometimes the greatest revenge against those who dismissed your dreams is to prove that those dreams were worth something all along. All my love, Grandma. I looked up at my mother, who had tears in her eyes. "She was right about you," Mom said softly. "I should have defended your choices more." The foundation continues to grow. Each year, we help dozens of students pursue their passion for art history. Catherine eventually moved to California, where she pretends not to know about her sister, the art philanthropist. Marcus still occasionally sends legal threats, which my team of lawyers calmly deflects. But the real victory isn't the money, or even proving them wrong. It's seeing the faces of scholarship recipients as they discover their own paths in the art world. It's watching restoration projects bring hidden masterpieces back to life. The worthless painting from a garage sale didn't just change my life. It's changing the lives of countless others. And somewhere, I know Grandma is smiling, having orchestrated perhaps the most masterful lesson of all. Sometimes the most valuable things are the ones others teach us to overlook. In my office at the foundation, I keep a small frame on my desk. Inside isn't a priceless painting or a valuable document, it's the $5 bill I used to buy the Moore. Under it, I've written Grandma's words. Beauty isn't always obvious to everyone. That's why it's so special when you're one of the few who can see it. And every time I look at it, I'm reminded that the best investments aren't always the ones that make us rich. They're the ones that make us who we were meant to be.